Hello, 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 welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today we're gonna probably work on the S2000 a little bit more. I got it cleaned up today. Gave it its first wash since it's been turbocharged. And man, it's looking good. I still gotta figure out my bumper situation. This thing just keeps popping up for some reason. I gotta get the tab or whatever holds that down. But yeah, I'm gonna show you guys a few finishing touches that I did on the car since the last video of this thing. Good girl. How's baby bump?
Large and in charge.
Coming along.
Halfway there.
She's catching up. I'm gonna get the S2000 pulled into the shop here and probably get it up on the dyno and see what we if we can get some stuff figured out in the Haltech, and maybe show you guys a few things with the Haltech Elite and show you the progress that I've gotten done on the car. Also, you guys should drop it down in the comments if you want me to make a video on my 2020 Street Glide. I just washed this thing up today along with my S2000. Got them both cleaned up. All right, guys, so it's been a couple days since I last filmed an update on the Turbo S2000 here, but I do have the car on the dyno now, and I was just gonna drive it a little bit and play around on the Haltech. I don't really like doing it on the street, even though I had the laptop with me. I've put like 50 miles on the car just on the street, just burning out the remaining pump gas that was in the tank. I installed a Hunter Tune 450 fuel pump. I'll insert a picture here. Pretty much had to go through underneath the convertible top and pop out a bunch of plastic down here, and then you can kind of access the fuel pump through the trunk here. So I got that done, my first fuel pump install on an S2000. It's a little bit harder than a Civic, but it's still not too bad of a job. You guys saw that I got the gauges and stuff installed in the last video. Like I said, got the laptop here, and I had an issue with the TPS. I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but I put this Mustang TPS on. So on the Jack Spania Racing throttle body, I had to use a Mustang TPS, and I actually had the 5-volt and the signal flipped. The ground was correct, which I believe the ground is the green or the black. So I had these two flipped, and the ECU was kind of freaking out, and the first test drive that I took the car on, it was throwing a bunch of error codes in the ECU, like ECU over temp, 5-volt signal screwed up. When I would hit the TPS, the coolant temperature would rise. So I'm like, man, this is weird. It seems like there's a wiring short somewhere or something. So I checked with a multimeter on the Honda harness just to make sure, and there's really no diagrams on this Mustang TPS that I could find. But I did find like one forum where a guy mentioned the colors and what they were. So for anybody wondering, this is the correct way to wire it. So it goes green and yellow from Honda to black on the Mustang, and then it goes yellow and blue or whatever this one is to orange, and then red and black to green. So that's how I have it wired, and it's been working great. But since I had the wiring wrong, I rewired it the correct way, and then the TPS and everything was smoother, but the TPS had a dead spot. Like 40% throttle or so, it would just go to 0. So if you'd like roll into the gas, the car would just shut off. So because it was wired wrong, I killed a sensor. Good thing they're only like 40 bucks. So I got a replacement one and had it wired correctly, and I haven't had any issues since. But I knew it was wired wrong because when I wired it the correct way, the only code that came up in the Haltech was TPS. And all the ECU over temp and all that kind of weird shit was done. It was gone, so I didn't have that issue anymore. My buddy Kurt helped me get a base kind of loaded into this thing. We set the base timing through the Haltech, and this thing was like 12 degrees off. So we had to offset the ignition by like 12 degrees in the Haltech. I might show you guys some of that here in a second. Burn the pump gas out of it, filled it with E85. Now I'm going to put some spark plugs in it I also have my boost reference hooked up, so it's just going straight from the turbo right to the wastegate for now, so it's probably not going to make a ton of boost, but we'll at least be able to get some boost out of it. And I had to modify this dump tube because on the Straight Line Motorsports hot side kit, you have to install the dump tube on the wastegate before you install the downpipe, and I didn't want to pull my full exhaust off, so I just modified the dump tube a little bit to be able to pull it out without pulling the exhaust off. I still have to make a shield between the AC lines and the manifold, but believe it or not, I've been driving the car all day today, and it's been, you know, like 85 degrees, and all the temperatures were great. Coolant temp never got above like 203, and AC's nice and cold. I haven't had any issues, but I'm not going to push my luck too much longer. So I'm going to try to make a metal heat shield, like either out of aluminum or steel, I don't know, some maybe thin sheet metal, just to kind of tuck in between there so it has a buffer and it's not directly heating the AC lines in the fuse box. I also installed one of the fans, if my camera will pick it up. There we go. So this is the cooling fan that is normally for the air conditioning, and then there's a bigger one for the engine over here. But I just put the one for the AC, I tilted it like crooked so it would clear my intercooler pipe and stuff. And I just have this one running to the main engine fan. And just this one fan, it's been maintaining like 200 degrees. Even with the AC cranked and stuff like that, the hottest it got, driving around on the street with the hood shut and everything, was like 203 degrees. So that one fan is doing its job. The radiator, being the DPL aluminum core, I feel like helps quite a bit too. So yeah, I was kind of nervous about engine bay temperature and stuff like that because everybody cuts holes in these hoods and shit. I don't want to do any of that. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get some plugs thrown in this thing. I have a set of NGK Iridium BKR8 EIX here. So these are the plugs I'm going to run. You could go with 9s, but I really don't plan on making a ton of power with this car right now. I want to make like a solid 400 to 500 wheel if possible, and just enjoy it. So I got these guys gapped down to 18 thousandths. I'm gonna throw them in now. Alright guys, so I've been working on the S2000 quite a bit on the dyno with the Haltech, and I'm just gonna say sorry to everybody that I haven't been filming. I've just been learning, and it's really hard for me to video stuff while I'm learning, and I'll be completely honest with everybody that I don't really know Haltech. I know how to tune a fuel map, I know how to, you know, optimize ignition timing and all that kind of stuff, but I'm really bad. I'm not bad, I'm just uneducated with stuff when it comes to like trigger systems and setting up, you know, falling edge, rising edge, all that kind of stuff. I have been getting a random error code on the Haltech for engine position sensor for a while, and it'll like throw it when I crank the car up. It won't throw the code if I'm just driving down the road cruising. It runs flawless. And I was just like, I don't know, maybe it's a fluke, and I kind of just like have been looking past it, which is probably stupid. So I tried to do a dyno pull, and car runs really strong up to like 6,000, 6,500, and then it just like kapow, it hits like a rev limiter. And I haven't been filming it, and I apologize, but, and then it throws that engine position error again. So I don't know what's wrong. This is the S2000 base map that like is on the Haltech repository or whatever. And all I did is I set up my wideband, I set the ignition timing and changed the trigger offsets. Here, I'm gonna get in the car and show you a little bit more with the Haltech here. It's the same with like HP Tuner stuff. Like I really hate HP Tuner because I haven't taken the time for myself to educate myself on a lot of the new stuff, because it gets frustrating when you have to relearn a bunch of stuff all the time. And I just don't honestly have the free time, a lot of time, to like relearn a totally different like file on HP Tuner. Like you could take a truck from 2010 or 2011 or 2018 and they're like completely different in how they operate, or like it just gets frustrating. And I'm just, you know, when I take on customer work, I try to just stick with the basics of what I know, which really isn't a lot in comparison to other people. And I'm trying to learn. It's just like I just don't know where to focus my time, and it's just been stressful. I don't want to blow this fucking thing up. I have a lot of money into it and a lot of time. So here is the Haltech NSP software. This is the error code I'm getting. PO373, engine position error passed. So when I log, which I don't even know really how to log on this shit, you like open up your log and you go to like data log manager and all this stuff, and you can open up and playback and whatever. S300 or Hondata or any of these other softwares, even Fueltech, is a lot easier to like open a log and look at stuff. Like Holly is super easy. This is like, I don't know, I'm just uneducated with it, so it's probably really easy. I'm just not grasping it and whatever. But I do get there's a trigger error count right down here. If you're in like the diagnostic section of Haltech, there's this trigger error counter, and this thing was at 0, and if I start the car, it'll probably be at 0. Car starts up great, like beautiful. Everything runs awesome. Hunter Tune 1500cc injectors and everything like that. I have the closed loop stuff off, and I've just been tuning the fuel map. But when I hit like 6500, when I'm flooring it, it'll hit that cut and this trigger error counter will go to 5. I don't know what that means. Like I said, I'm learning a lot of this stuff. Synced pulse inputs, I don't even know what this is. There's no drive-by-wire, so I don't know why that's on. Trigger sync level is full. Sync state running. No errors. So I'll go over here, I'll erase this. And I've been just looking at like the crank setup. So if we go under like engine configuration, you can see this stuff all set up. And then if we go under, if we go to the trigger setup, this is how I have it set up currently. The TDC angle is how you offset your ignition timing if it's like if this is 0 or whatever, or 16, whatever it was, and I shoot it with a timing light with the stuff locked, or the timing locked, it was off like 12 degrees or something. So I had to put this at 32 to get the timing light and the ECU to sync up. So I did that. There's this filter, RPM filter level, and it says this filter applied to the RPM, so it's probably like, you know, for the tach or something like that. Quick start. Enables the quick start feature when using direct fire ignition and sequential ignition. Enabling this function fires the ignition and wasted spark and the injection and semi-sequential when the engine RPM is under the max cranking for faster engine starting. We have sensor type as a reluctor because they are a reluctor on the crankshaft. Rising edge, the edge of the trigger signal used for measuring engine position and speed. This is how this stuff was set up. It was set up as rising edge. The filter was at 0, which the filter, the level of filtering on the trigger input typically set to 0 unless there's a specific reason to use the filtering. That is for, you know, noise. Like if there's noise on the engine somewhere or whatever, I think that filter kind of helps, you know, set aside like an engine rattle or an exhaust rattle or something like that. And the more I'm thinking about it now, my dump tube off the wastegate is actually rubbing on the exhaust. Do you hear it rattle? So I wonder, I honestly should try just taking the dump tube and setting it differently so it's not rattling on the downpipe and see if that helps, because I feel like that might be part of it. There's also ground reference right here. Enables the ground reference on the trigger input. This is typically enabled when the negative wire from the reluctor is set to ground, connected to ground, which I think the stock crank sensor has a ground, so it's connected to ground, I would think. Jamie from PFI actually told me that this should be disabled. So I'm actually going to disable that. I'm going to leave the filter at 1 because I just think 1 isn't going to hurt anything. Ground reference is disabled on both of them now. And then when you make a change on the Haltech, it'll show like this little red thing here. And you have to like reboot it. So I just give it a rev. There we go, we're rebooted. And we have this code again, erase. And I just don't know why it has this engine position code. I Googled it, and there was other people with the same problem. So I don't think it's just my car. There's just gotta be something stupid in here that I'm missing. And yeah, so I'm trying to figure it out. But the car runs really good. It honestly. I'll let you guys know when I know more of what's going on. I hate this setup. The initial setup stuff, I hate. So I got a few pulls done on the S2000 and everything is running good for the most part. I'm having issues with getting it to just I'm personally having issues with being able to read the data logs. I don't really know how to open it in a way that works for me, or a way that I understand things. So I still have to learn a lot of that with the software, but the car's making really good horsepower. The other night I did a run. The best run so far on the car was 352 horsepower. 352 is our best. I have since pulled 2 degrees of timing out of it just to make sure that I'm not on like the ragged edge of timing or anything like that. And since I've pulled timing, I've done like the same exact pulls back to back to back to back, and I'm down like 20 horsepower. The best run tonight, 332 horsepower with 2 degrees yanked out of it, and it's actually boost creeping pretty bad. So Straight Line told me that this manifold and configuration with the single wastegate wouldn't boost creep. It's boost creeping, but I think it's because I don't have enough ignition timing in it currently, and I got to play around with some of that stuff, but I got to be able to read these data logs in order to do it. I also fixed the issue with the engine position sensor code, and I wanted to show you guys what fixed it. I paid Kenny from Humble Performance, I paid him 150 bucks to show me how to do it, and I'm going to show you guys for free so we can hopefully learn from this and not have to be, you know, scratching our heads for hours, because I was didn't really know what the hell was going on. So there's the settings under trigger setup. Sensor type is reluctor, rising edge. I have the filter at 1. And the issue lies in the home signal. So I guess setting this synchronization mode to conditional fixed the issue. I set it to conditional. There's the settings. And after doing that, all of the codes went away. The engine position error codes went away. I guess it's just a dirty signal, like the stock sensor and stuff. So setting the home signal to like off or conditional or whatever fixed the issue completely. Like, I haven't had any issues with the car cutting out or breaking up or throwing that code. So that is all fixed now, and the car revs out really clean and everything like that, but it's really hard for me to tune. I've just been kind of like tuning off the wideband like I do on some of these older Hondas and not actually doing data logging and stuff. It automatically is set up to data log over like 50% throttle or something, and then I go to the data log thing up here where it says logging. Yeah, so you go to the logging, and then it says like download all logs from the ECU, and you have to playback, to data log viewer, or to file. And I just like don't understand what I need to do in order to like open this stuff up. I think I open it to playback a lot of the times. I've tried the data log viewer, but it's just confusing to me right now. I still have to learn a lot of this stuff, but I can see like when you open it up to view as like playback, you can open this stuff down here, and you can see like when you click down here on a lot of the logging, you can click like, you know, the red is RPM, so I'll click like high up in the RPM, and I'll go to main or diagnostics. There we go. And as you click through the log, you can see changing here. Or if we hit play down here, we can see what the car's doing, when it's doing it, whatever. So I did another pull here coming up. You can watch the boost. Comes up. My wastegate spring's like 5. You can see the boost really slow down there. And then above like 7,000 RPM, it really starts to creep up. I think the most boost I saw was like 12 pounds at some point. That one was only about 10. Here's another section. That was like 8 pounds. like 8 pounds. So like, I don't know how to zoom on this graph. Like if I right click, all it says is select channels. And then like over here, there's like a play button and then a plus and a minus for playback speed. And if you X out of it, it just like gets rid of it. I wish I could take that thing that was down here and like right click and zoom in on a lot of the stuff and really be able to fine tune those like certain areas. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I'm just not familiar with the software still. I'm probably going to ask for some help in order to get my logging skills with Haltech down. Like I said, this is my first standalone car I've ever had, and it's way different than like Honda, you know, and I really need to sharpen my skills, let's just say. I really kind of feel dumb doing this car, but it is running really good and I'm very happy with the results. It sounds good, and it's making pretty good power, 350 horsepower. I think that night I had the 2 degrees in it and it made 352 on 10 pounds was the highest I saw on the log. But it is boost creeping. 6 pounds is my gate spring, 5 to 6, and it's creeping to 10 by like 80-200 or so, which isn't bad. That's not terrible boost creep. It's totally deal withable. But I want to try to eliminate the boost creep as much as possible. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to come. I have a little coolant leak. As you guys can see, it's been leaking a little bit from off the intake manifold. There's a fitting that I put on there and the hose going down, and I think the hose is just slightly too big on that fitting. So I have to figure that out, get the coolant leak fixed, and figure out how to read the data logs a little bit better. And we'll do some more tuning later. But I think for now, this is going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the struggles and some of the honesty, I guess. I feel like I don't like admitting my faults sometimes, and I'm getting worse with it. As my business grows and my website grows, I don't really like it, you know, saying when I don't know what I'm doing, and I gotta get out of that mindset. So I'm just gonna show you guys the struggles and everything with this, and hopefully we can get it running good soon. Unfortunately, I have a car outside I gotta tune, so the S2000 is probably gonna have to have a little bit of a break, take it off the dyno. I'm probably gonna fix that coolant leak, and then we'll come back at it, you know, in a couple days or something, and try to get it all ironed out. I would really like to do some pulls on this boost level and really play with ignition timing and add a bunch and see if I can get rid of that boost creep like I was talking about. But yeah, hopefully you guys have a great night and a better tomorrow. God bless. I had a great weekend. I was doing a lot of stuff off camera, and I have been, and I'm hoping before the snow flies, you guys will see what I've been working on. And it's not car related, it's not bike related, but it's cool. It's really cool. So yeah, I just haven't really focused my time on the car stuff in a long time, you know? So I just need to buckle down and finish this thing one of these days, but there's no rush, you know? I'm not gonna rush to get it done. I'm just taking my time with it. But yeah, anyways, see you later.